just to be clear, there was no prejudice in me asking you that question. I'm interested to know what their experience was and what they thought of the UK, which made them want to come to the UK. Just to be clear, there was nothing else insinuated by that.
I'll take you at your word on that.
Good, because that's where it comes from.
Welcome back, everyone. Head of policy for the Reform Party, Zia Yusuf, was on Sky News when the presenter Matt Barbet asked him why his parents decided to immigrate and settle in the UK in the 80s. Before we go into it, I don't understand what Zia Yusuf, who is the son of an immigrant, a South Asian and a British Muslim, is doing working beneath someone like Nigel Farage, who has openly expressed his dislike for this particular group of people. Anyway, let's take a look.
Your parents came here in the 1980s. Why did they choose to come to the UK from Sri Lanka?
Well, you should probably speak to my parents about that, but I actually don't think it's particularly relevant. My parents did not come here on a boat across the channel illegally.
No, I didn't say
legally, and they've contributed to this country. And I put it to you. You know what? I actually put it to you. You would not be asking this question. There's actually something fundamentally interesting about you asking me that question, because the insinuation of your question is that there is a limit to how restrictive an immigration policy I can advocate for on the basis that my parents happen to be immigrants. And I'm afraid I think there's something very unreasonable about that line of questioning.
No, I think you're deriving the wrong insinuation. I'm interested to know why they came to Britain. I wonder if it was because it's seen as an empathetic and accommodating place.
Well, my father qualified as a medical doctor and came here. He travelled all around the country. Between them, my parents have given 50 years of service to the NHS. My parents did not come here because they were expecting free taxpayer accommodation, free meals, taxi services around the country, and basically to be able to live a life of leisure, including taxpayer-funded days out at the taxpayer's expense. Those are reasons they did not come here. And again, the reality is, in the early 1980s, in fact, for decades, this country did indeed have one of the most successful immigration programs in the world. I would argue my parents are a shining example of that. I'm really proud of them. But what we've seen now is a population explosion. We've seen untrammeled illegal immigration. And if you can't tell the difference between people like my parents coming here in the early 1980s, when net immigration was between 30 and 50,000 a year, and legal migration at around 1 million a year, which is what it was 18 months ago, for example, and hundreds of thousands of people coming here illegally and being put up at the taxpayer's expense. I think British people see a fundamental difference between those things.
I absolutely can tell the difference, of course. And just to be clear, there was no prejudice in me asking you that question. I'm interested to know what their experience was and what they thought of the UK, which made them want to come to the UK. Just to be clear, there was nothing else insinuated by that.
I'll take you at your word on that.
Good, because that's where it comes from.
Guys, this is why the Reform Party doesn't work. On the one hand, we have Nigel Farage, who dislikes British Muslims and South Asians. And on the other hand, we have Zia Yusuf wanting to crack down on all levels of immigration. Asked then why his own parents came here, his defense was, well, they never came here illegally at the taxpayer's cost. Neither did the majority of South Asians who migrated here in the 50s post-World War II due to labour shortage. I don't have anything against Zia. I do have a lot of questions on his position at the Reform Party. You can tell this exchange made him very uncomfortable. That feeling of uncomfortable resonates with a lot of South Asians who are here legally, who are settled here. They too can use the same arguments he just presented, yet his party leader, on the other hand, does not share his opinions.
You talk about the rhetoric here and the separation. Of course, there are plenty of people like your mum and dad who came here to work and to give good service to the NHS and everything else. Is the rhetoric around this conflating the issues between legal migration that we have needed for a long time in the UK and illegal migration, which, comparatively speaking, numbers-wise, is a lot smaller?
I think they're both totally out of control. Again, in the early 1980s, we can talk about when my parents came in. The early 1980s, net immigration hovered between 30 and 50,000 a year. If we look at what's happened since 2010, for example, we've seen the population of this country increase by 10%. Over 95% of that is through immigration. And look at the payload, look at the effect that has on public services. For example, real spending on the NHS in that time has doubled. has doubled to cope with that increase of 10%. And we have fewer hospital beds as a result. And under the Boris way, for example, the 3.8 or so million people who came here under Boris Johnson, and as a result of his policies, the majority of those people did not come on work visas. In fact, the vast majority did not come on work visas. So legal migration has been totally out of control in terms of numbers. And on top of that, here's what's really important as well. Democracy matters, and the legal mandate matters. The democratic mandate matters. The Tories, in 4 consecutive manifestos, won elections in no small part because they committed to bringing legal migration down to the tens of thousands. They left office with that number at almost 1 million. So that number's out of control. And illegal migration is also totally out of control. Both of those things can be true at the same time, and they are.
Zia Yusuf, thank you for your time.
Zia says legal immigration has been totally out of control. Yeah, it might be, but what's the problem? You can't blame the people who have migrated here via legal channels. If it's a problem, then it's with the system that's been created by the government. He says as a result, the healthcare system has doubled. If there's a problem with spending, why were they complicit in Israel's genocide in Gaza? Zia then says specifically about legal migration, 95% of those did not come here on work visas. According to gov.uk, the majority of visas seeking safe and humanitarian routes came in the UK from Ukraine. This whole situation is a mess, yet Nigel still points and blames British Muslims. It's nonsense. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Support me by liking and subscribing, and I'll see you all on the next video. Peace out.